Hey, switching up a little bit again, making a singing entrance. It's a second episode of Is it weird or is it just me? No, actually, it's gonna be Am I the bad guy or no, for Am I the bad guy for this time because I'm gonna share something with you that happened last year and a little bit at the beginning of this year. So before moving here, I was in a roommate situation. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of background. I was living with 3 people. 2 of them were people that I knew from my university years. Actually, my first university year. And one of them is a girl. I was friend with her, and the other is a guy, and I was not friend with him. I never really talked to him when we were in school together. And so those people came back into my life because I was living abroad, and I came back to France, and a former I don't know how to put this, someone we were in school with reached out to me, and she was like, hey, we are having a little reunion type of thing, would you want to join? And I was really struggling with anxiety at this period of my life, but I still said yes, and I went, and that's where I actually really met for the first time the guy, like the first time we actually really talked, because before that, when we were in the same school, we were not talking. And this guy introduced me to other people, and thanks to him, in a sense, I have a lot of friends. I mean, a lot. Yeah, sure. I have friends. So he had like an important part of my life, I guess. And so when I was looking for a place to stay because I was back at my parents and I wanted to move out, he said, well, I'm gonna have to leave the apartment I have now, so we could be roommate. So I was like, yeah, it's a great idea. You know, he's a dear friend of mine, so I thought it was gonna be fun. I knew he was a guy and he wasn't the cleanest of them all, but I mean, you know, I'm used to live with other people. I grew up with 2 big brothers and 1 sister, so I know how to live in community. So at first it was the 2 of us. Then once we found, an apartment, a friend from school also came in. So the other one was a girl, still is a girl. So she is Maeva and he is Bruno. And so at first it was going to be only the 3 of us, but Bruno asked if he could bring one of his brother along. He said it was going to be temporary. Turns out it wasn't. But yeah, that's another subject. Anyway, so we were living the 4 with the brother, the 4 of us, in that big apartment in city center. It was really cool. I was complaining a little bit about how dirty the house was and how I was the only one cleaning, so I made like a chart, not a chart, planning, scheduled, I never know how to pronounce that word, scheduled, a planning, okay? A freaking planning to make sure that everybody was cleaning at least once a week. So a month being roughly 4 weeks, and there were 4 people in this house. So just clean once a month, basically. I think it was pretty okay to ask. I mean, you live in a house with other people. The least you can do is to help out, right? So there was some tension, but it was okay, I think. I wasn't complaining every day. I was cleaning, and the tension on that part went down, and it was fine, because the 2 brothers were like, we don't have the same standards as you for cleaning. You know, we grew up in a house where there were dog hairs everywhere and it was dirty, and I'm like, okay, cool, but I don't want to live in a freaking dog house, right? So I'm gonna be cleaning, and once it's your turn to clean, I expect you to maybe not clean as well as me, but to clean at least. So anyway, that was that. That's not the subject actually for today's. So the main thing that happened is I started dating a girl. It was really brief, right? I think I dated her for like 2 weeks or something. I wasn't really in love with her at all, actually. We went on a first date, and then I invited her for a party we had at the house. And when Bruno met her, I knew they got along well. They were both really into video games. She was actually studying to create video games, do some graphic things. Anyway, so yeah, that girl kind of traumatized me in a way. I don't want to really get into details, but let's just say I put down boundaries with her, and she just stepped on it each time I did. She was very much there. She was like staying over a little too much to my taste and inviting herself, and I had a hard time saying no to her. And when I tried to make it obvious that I didn't want something, she pushed to get what she wanted, basically. So I didn't want to see her again, and I stopped seeing her, just like that. And after a little while, Bruno asked me if it was okay for him to see her sometimes. So when he asked me that, me, naive that I am, I thought he want to be friends with her, right? Because they have so much in common. So I was like, sure, you do you, you know? And so I let it be. But then, of course, it was not just friendship between them. And he started inviting her over. And so she was there every weekend, like, because she was a student, so she was studying in a school that it was actually pretty far away from the city center. So during the week, she was at school, so she could not really be in the city center. But during the weekend, she was working in a small restaurant, and this restaurant happened to be like 100 meters away from our house. Really the street behind our house, basically. So, of course, she enjoyed staying there at the house for the weekend, so she could just go to work and not have to like be in a tramway or bus or whatever for 30 minutes to get back to the house. It was really convenient for her. And now she had a boyfriend who lived right next door and who had a super amazing computer where she could play video games. And he had the PlayStation and the Xbox and the Switch and everything. Just really big video game guy. So she was really winning there, right? So I told Bruno at some point, because I was having a hard time, right? Having someone who traumatized me in a sense, yeah. Not in a sense, she really did. So having her around was not really pleasing for me. So I told Bruno, I asked him kindly if he could not invite her every weekend that often, because also sometimes she was just staying over longer than that. At some point, I remember one day she just skipped school on the Monday and on the Tuesday. So she was like 4 days in a row. And then whenever she had holidays, or they had like bank holidays or things like that, days where the school was closed, she was at her place. So I asked him, he said okay. He was like, being like the good guy, like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll make an effort. I was like, good, thanks. And he didn't. Of course, he didn't. So she was still there all the time. And so I thought maybe I have to, tell him that she disrespected me and stepped over my boundaries, and it makes me uncomfortable to see her. So I told him that. He said he'd make an effort. So he did for maybe a week. And then she was here again. So I asked a third time, right? Third time's the charm, as they say. This time I thought that Bruno, being very, factual, he likes to be told things clearly, you have to explain everything to him. He's a Virgo, so I guess... Sorry, always bringing everything back to astrology. So I told him what happened between her and I. It wasn't something I wanted to tell him in details, but I did, because I thought that maybe he needed to know every details. And fun fact is, Bruno and I had, in the past, we had long conversations about consent and about boundaries and about relationships and being physical with someone, and how we felt about that, and how insecure I could be, and all that. We talked about those things, him and I. So I naively thought that a guy that I talked about consent with, and I talked about boundaries with, I thought that he would understand that having someone who disrespected me and who stepped on my boundaries and all that, I thought that he would understand, right? That it really made me uncomfortable. So again, he said, I understand. I'm sorry. He did mention that it was hard to find time to see her because she was at school during the week and she was living far away, blah, blah, blah. She did had, she has an apartment, right? The girl has a place. They could go to her place, but no, oh my God. And fun fact, Bruno was not working. So it's not like he could not go to her place. He had nothing to do. He was playing video games all day and working on a book project of his. So he could have go to her place. But no. So anyway, he apologized and said that he would make an effort again and he will try to not invite her as much. And once again, he did that for a week or so, and then she was there again and spending more and more time. Every time I was going out for the weekend or for a few days, going to my parents' place or something, she was there. At first he was trying to invite her when I wasn't there, but I'm living my life, right? So it's my house, so when I don't have to explain whenever I'm coming back, what time, if I'm leaving or not. anyway. So she was there. And so I did what I had to do for myself to protect myself. And I just stayed in my room. And because they were not always staying in Bruno's room. Most time they were in the living room watching movies and all that. So I would just stay in my room. Most time I would skip dinner, skip lunch, just stay in my room. And they ended up breaking up. And that's where things turned to shit. Like really a mess. Bruno decided that their relationship didn't work because of me. That they had to break up because of me. He said that I was always acting so cold whenever she was around. That he had to, how do you say? He said he had to sacrifice the love of his life for me. How dramatic. And so it was my fault, of course. And there's also other stuff, of course, because of that, like, he was mad at me, basically. And since I'm the reason why they broke up, right? So he's pissed at me. And sometimes, like, before they broke up, I remember I asked him, because she was not living with us, right? Even though she was there every weekend. But she had two pair of shoes and a third one, which was a pair of slippers that were just staying at our place. And picture this, the way in the house was a really small place that was like, you had the front door. It was opening up to a really small room that was opening up to a big staircase. And you had to go up to reach the rooms and the living room and everything. So this place, this front door area, like hallway type of situation, was really small. And we were already 4 living here, and we had a lot of shoes. But her shoes were always in the middle. And so at some point I asked him, could you please put your girlfriend's shoes someplace else? Tidy them. They're always in the middle. And last I know, she doesn't live here. She doesn't pay rent. So please put them away. He got mad. Like really mad. Like yelling, punching the walls in his room. Kind of mad for that. That was the first big thing. I think that's when I decided to tell him in details why I was uncomfortable with her. Anyway, and then after that they broke up. And after they broke up, Bruno did his cleaning of the house 1 week. So he cleaned on Monday. And on Wednesday, the mop and the bucket that he used to clean the living room were still there. Those things, it's kind of dumb, but the mop and the bucket are mine, right? Other things in the house are his, and I always take care of his stuff whenever I use it. But he used my stuff and let the freaking mop being all wet and just turning gross, right? So I asked him, could you please clean the mop and the bucket and, put them away? Because they're in the middle of the living room and it's wet and they've been there for 2 days already. And again, he got mad. So there was only, at this time I remember it was only the 2 of us at the house. My room was on the 1st floor, his was on the 2nd floor. And instead of just telling me, he sent me voice message, screaming in his phone, insulting me of every name in the book, telling me that I could just tidy the damn bucket since I was, passing by it, and that instead of complaining, I should just tidy it myself. And I get the point, right? You see something, you do something. But he never came out of his room. The guy bought a second fridge just to put it in his room so he wouldn't have to go down to the kitchen to get his Diet Coke. So he was always in his room. And when he went down, it was to go to the kitchen. And by going to the kitchen, he was not walking through the living room. So he was not walking past the bucket, the famous bucket. And also just, I didn't want to clean after him, because that's what I did from the beginning of the roommate situation. And he was not learning. So the point was to tell him to clean after himself, because I wouldn't always be there to do so. When you use something, you clean it and you tidy it behind yourself, right? I think it's really basic community rules. But anyway, he got really, really mad over this bucket and mop situation. So again, punching the walls in his room, sending me insults and everything, and telling me to just go F myself and to effing move out and things like that. And what he didn't know is that I was already looking for another place to live. But yeah, so that's like the whole situation, I think. This time I think I've told you everything. He was also annoying when I wanted to move out, because we had to find replacement for roommates, and I did all the work for that, and then I decided to just move out and stop caring about that, and he got mad at that as well, because, how dare I leave him to find a roommate. But yeah, so the question is, am I the bad guy for asking my roommate, who is a longtime friend, to not date my ex who disrespected me and makes me uncomfortable, and not invite her every weekend in the house I live? So yeah, I'm sorry, it's a long one. Kind of curious to know. I know that, of course, it is my point of view of the story. His point of view is going to be probably, I'm saying is going to be, as if it was going to tell you his side. No. His point of view is probably way more, he's the victim and all that. And I truly believe that he believes he is the victim and all that. And that he didn't do anything wrong, because it was the love of his life, I think right now that I've moved out, he is back with her, and good for him, good for them. They really found each other there. So yeah, I'd be curious to have your point of view on this. Would you do something like that to a friend, to a roommate? Have you lived with roommates before? How annoying are you concerning cleaning up, having a clean house, things like that? I'll be curious to know. And yeah, that's the long Am I the Bad Guy one for today. And I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.